Good morning. My name is James Clark, and I'm the mayor of Justin, Texas. First of all, again, this is such a beautiful morning. This is the time of year where it's just feels really good being outside. Today is election day, and for those that just moved from other states or maybe just gotten to the point where they're kind of paying attention to politics and what's going on, this election in November is woefully under supported. A lot of people kind of just miss it. There's no president running. We're not in the primaries. You're not voting for school board or your council or any of those things. And so there's just not a lot of interest. A lot of times, people just kind of, wake up one day and think, well, yeah, there's really nothing to vote for. But that's not the case. We just wrapped up a legislative session. This legislative session has amendments to the state constitution on our ballot. And so when you go and vote today, you're voting for amendments to our state constitution. There are things in there that may or may not matter to you. There's things on there that may matter a lot to you. I have to encourage you to get out today and vote. If you're not registered to vote, get registered to vote. We'll have another opportunity in March to vote. We have another opportunity after that in May. Seems like there's always some type of voting cycle going on. And as you wake up and you start paying attention, you recognize how important it is to get out to vote. I can tell you right now, I'm not in Justin. I'm out here in just north here in Ponder. I go to the Denton County Cowboy Church, and every Tuesday morning, we have men's Bible study and breakfast, and we break bread together. I truly believe as iron sharpens iron, so shall one man sharpen another. And so I continue to come out here, and I find a great deal of value in that. But the reason I mentioned that I'm not in Justin is because I get a little bit of freedom, right now to talk about the bond that Justin has on the ballot. And I'm not trying to sell you on the idea. And I even had one individual say, well, we voted against that and all the bonds, 3 years ago, that meant they can never, ever come up again. Well, I'll tell you, those were put on 3 years ago, very specific, because these are needs that we have identified for the city. These are things that are going to be needed moving forward, and so we put them out there. Those needs don't go away, and it's awfully naive to believe that because we weren't ready for them at that time, that we may not be ready for them here now or in the future. I've heard a lot of people throw out some misinformation. Someone said that this bond, should it pass for the city, is going to add $400 a month to their home. I don't know of any $20 million properties in Justin. I'm not saying there's not any, but I'm unaware of them. A $300,000 home is about, I think they said about 14 cents or $14 a month is what that looks like. Now, mind you, when you all passed the fire department bond, that added some taxes. However, when that fire department's built, our ISO rating should get down close to 2. When the city's ISO rating is at 2 for fire, your homeowner's insurance drops by over $100 a month. It has the potential of dropping, and in some cases, a couple of $100 a month. So to me, I would gladly exchange, $14 a month, in taxes to save a couple $100 in in homeowner's insurance. Now, again, that's variable. It depends where you live, depends on your insurance company. But I spoke to several insurance companies to try to understand how the ISO rating could impact us. Now, this isn't a fire department. This is a city hall. And so a lot of people have come in and say there's too much money or we're not ready for this. And that's fine. Maybe it's too much money for them. Maybe they're not ready for this. I get it. This building was built in the early 60s. I think we found architecture drawings in 1959-ish. I believe the building was constructed in 1962, and many of our citizens went to elementary school in this building. I can tell you that a school bond passed a couple years ago. They tore down buildings that were built in the 90s because they're uneconomical to repair. I think the city has recognized, how can we recognize from the first time the bond came up that, it's a big burden, to have to build a new city hall. And it's a big burden to do a community center. And so we re-looked at how we did things. And so I think the original was about $50 million total between the two buildings. This is shy of $20 million, I believe. And there's someone that keeps saying, well, that's $40 million, but they're not being taxed $1 million on their $500,000 home. They're being taxed upon the value of the property. So there's always going to be that out there, and it's fine. Here's the reality. the city's growing, and we're not ignorant. Your elected officials are smart enough to realize that, we have to be careful in what we invest in, but invest we have to do. And so if we don't invest, then that's also a problem. The building that the city hall is currently in right now, if the bond passes, will be reimagined. There'll be some open spaces. The gym will be completely stripped down of the skin, and put back together. That space will be used as a flex space. Someone mentioned that the city shouldn't be building things to rent out. Okay, great, I get it. But this flex space is for senior citizens that have a place to call home. We push them around right now. In the summertime, it's too hot in our gym. In the wintertime, it gets really too cold. The city, the council chambers, if you would, isn't quite large enough. They need a kitchen. Our seniors matter to us. And so part of this space is very much that. The other part of the space is an enlarged council area. That way, when we have citizens in for big events or maybe controversial topics, there's room for them. But none of that matters. Here's the part that matters. This building, should the bond pass and money be put into this building, we recognize it's an old structure. And so the building is going to be gutted, pulled apart, and rebuilt in a manner that gives us at least another 50 years of use out of this building. And mind you, in 50 years, heck, in 20 years, the building's gonna be too small to house what is the city hall. There will be, and I'm warning you or telling you, or maybe I'm forecasting, there will be a time moving forward in 10 or so years where we probably gonna have to build a city hall. But right now, we have a building that is in the heart of Old Town Justin. It is part of the fabric and it's part of the pulse of Old Town Justin. And we heard in the last elections that there was this big fear that if we built City Hall elsewhere, that this building would be vacated and it'll be a black hole, and it'll just be the beginning of the decay of Old Town. We don't want that. That was one of the reasons during the first bond election that we had, 3 years ago, that they were looking at building a community center there and making the library better and stuff along those lines. And so what we've done and what we've designed is with a great deal of foresight and forethought. What we've done is designed a building and a structure that gives us 50 years. With a mindful vision towards housing the city hall there for at least the next 10 to 15 years with our current population the way it is. And but what happens after that? So we're really designing a community center building that the city staff and the city hall is housed within for the time being until we get to a growth point where we need something else. And at that point, then the facility becomes a community center. So you're not just investing in a city hall, you're investing in the future of Justin. You're investing in a future community center. This is the reality of what this bond is. Now, maybe there's no taste for it, and that's fine. I mean, vote the way you want. I'm not here to tell you how to vote. I'm just trying to maybe educate people as to what this is. I've had a lot of people call me. We've had lots of conversations. People stop me in the street. People are concerned. People are calling me now trying to figure out how do I vote? How do I vote? Or where do I vote? So if you go to votedenton.gov, so votedenton.gov, there's the opportunity to see voter lookup. You can look up your name in there. It'll tell you where your polling place is, what precinct you're in. It'll even give you a sample ballot so you can kind of go through that and do some research before you go down to your polling place. I believe precincts 4219 and 4220 are voting at the city of Justin in our gym. So you get a chance to go down there and take a look at it. But I encourage you to go ahead and do that. If you're not registered to vote, it's important. So again, we just wrapped up a legislative session. So what's on this ballot are constitutional amendments to the Texas Constitution. That's important. Don't let someone make you believe that this is not an important election. Don't let someone make you believe that a bond was placed on this ballot to hide it in any way, because that's not the case. This should be one of the best turnouts that we have after every legislative session, not this hidden one. There's lots of movements in the state of Texas to make it where bonds can only be on ballots in the May elections. Eliminate elections until May and stuff along those lines. there's if you'll pay attention to legislative sessions, they're wanting to authorize mobile homes to be placed in downtown. They're wanting to give churches the ability to build apartment complexes on their properties. They're wanting, without, by the way, pay attention to any regards of infrastructure. There's a lot of things going on, with this push to remove local control and stuff along those lines. But you don't have a say so if you don't vote. You don't impact those decisions if you don't vote in every election. And so today, this is your last day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you're in 4219 or 4220, you go down to the City Hall here in Justin, Texas. If you're in the surrounding areas and you see this video, get down there. You don't have to have your little voter registration form with you. You just have every driver's license. You do have to be a registered voter in your county, in your precinct. Again, if you don't know where you're registered, if you don't know if you're registered, you go to votedenton.gov. And you'll see a list of things on there. There's one that says voter lookup. You click on that. It asks for your name. It asks for your birthday. I think it asks for name and birthday, and then it'll give you your stuff. So again, God bless you guys. Enjoy the day. Don't let today be a day where you're locked inside of a house and you don't get outside. It's a little crisp this morning. It'll warm up today, but again, James Clark. I'm your mayor. I love you guys. It's not fake. It's not a facade. I'm praying for you all, each and every one of you all. You have a good day. Thank you.